Trapped in Lies: How I Discovered My Wife's Affair, Confronted Her Manipulation, and Found the Strength to Walk Away from the Toxic Relationship That Nearly Destroyed Me. Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd be posting here, but life has a funny way of throwing you into situations you never saw coming. Or maybe I should have seen this coming and just refused to connect the dots. Either way, here I am, and I could really use some advice, or at least an outlet to vent. My wife, Emily, and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. She was my best friend, the love of my life, the woman I planned to grow old with. If you'd asked me a year ago if I trusted her, I would have laughed and said, with my life. Now, I don't even trust her to tell me what she had for breakfast. I won't pretend our marriage was perfect. No marriage is. But we were solid, or so I thought. Looking back, maybe the cracks started forming a while ago. She started working late more often, glued to her phone at all hours. Little things, like the way she used to light up when she saw me, started fading. I chalked it up to stress, the usual ups and downs. After all, Emily had always been fiercely independent. If she needed space, I gave it to her. But then, the excuses started piling up. The late-night meetings. The sudden weekend girls' trips with friends I'd never met. The way she'd snap at me for asking simple questions, like I was interrogating her instead of just making conversation. I wanted to believe she was just going through something. I needed to believe that. But deep down, a small, nagging voice told me something was very, very wrong. I ignored that voice. I shouldn't have. For months, I convinced myself that Emily was just stressed, that I was overthinking things. But then something happened that I couldn't brush off. It was a Saturday night, and she was supposed to be out with her friends, some new co-workers I'd never met. She left around 7 p.m., dressed way nicer than usual for a casual night out. I remember joking, "Damn, are you sure you're just going to a bar?" She gave me this forced laugh and rolled her eyes. Around 10 p.m., I was watching a movie when I heard her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. That was weird, Emily never left her phone behind. She was practically glued to it. My stomach twisted as I glanced at the screen. A text from someone named Jay popped up. "Jay, tonight was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart pounded in my ears. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it was a friend messing around. But then another text came in. "Jay, same place next weekend. I need you again." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. I just knew, this wasn't some friendly chat. This was something else. I shouldn't have done it, but I unlocked her phone. The passcode was the same as always, like she never thought she'd need to hide anything. What I found made my blood run cold. Flirty messages. Secret meetups. Compliments that cut through me like a knife. She had been lying to my face for who knows how long, sneaking around with this guy while I sat at home like an idiot, trusting her. I sat there for a long time, staring at the evidence, feeling my whole world tilt on its axis. My hands clenched into fists, my breathing got heavy, and I could feel the anger bubbling up, mixing with something worse, pure, raw betrayal. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront her right away? Wait for her to come home and pretend nothing was wrong? 1,000 thoughts raced through my head, but one thing was clear, my marriage was not what I thought it was. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at her phone, rereading the messages until they were burned into my brain. I wanted to throw the damn thing against the wall, but I knew I had to keep my cool. I needed a plan. Emily came home around 1 a.m., laughing a little too loudly as she fumbled with the keys. When she saw me sitting on the couch, her smile faltered. "Why are you still up?" she asked, kicking off her heels. I played it cool. Just couldn't sleep. She walked over, kissed me on the cheek, and I wanted to recoil. I could smell alcohol on her breath, mixed with a perfume that wasn't hers. I don't even know how I noticed, but I did. "Good night." I asked casually, watching her closely. She stretched, sighing like she was exhausted from a long night of deception. Yeah, just a regular girl's night. Nothing exciting. Nothing exciting. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. I had two choices: I could confront her right then and there, or I could wait and see how deep this rabbit hole went. I decided to wait. Glad you had fun, I said, forcing a smile. She barely even looked at me as she headed to bed. The moment she disappeared into the bedroom, I grabbed my phone and did something I never thought I'd do. I looked up the phone number from the texts. It didn't take long to find a name. Jason Carter. A quick search led me to his social media. He wasn't just some random guy, he was her coworker. A coworker she had never mentioned. And just like that, the last bit of doubt was gone. This wasn't a misunderstanding. She was cheating on me. The only question now was, what the hell was I going to do about it? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages, heard her voice lying to me like it was the easiest thing in the world. I kept picturing her with him, laughing, touching, kissing. I wanted to throw up. By morning, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to explode. Not yet. If she could lie so easily, I needed to be smart. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. Emily acted like nothing was wrong. She woke up, kissed me on the forehead, like I was some clueless idiot, and started making coffee. I watched her from the kitchen doorway, studying her, wondering how many times she had stood there, texting him while I was just a few feet away. She caught me staring and smirked. What? I forced a small laugh. Nothing. Just thinking about how lucky I am. She smiled and went back to her coffee, completely unaware that I was planning her downfall. That day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I bought a GPS tracker and stuck it under her car. I felt sick doing it, but I needed to know how deep this went. That night, she told me she was working late. Said they had some big project deadline coming up. I played along, kissed her goodbye, and told her not to work too hard. An hour later, I checked the tracker. She wasn't at work. She was at a damn hotel. My heart started pounding. I stared at the blinking dot on the screen, rage bubbling up inside me. She didn't even bother trying to hide it. She thought I was that stupid. I wanted to drive there, kick down the door, and catch them in the act. But instead, I took a deep breath and did something worse. I grabbed my phone, took a screenshot of the tracker, and sent it to her. No words. No accusations. Just the picture. And then I waited. It didn't take long for her to respond. At first, nothing. Just silence. I imagined her phone lighting up on the nightstand of some cheap hotel room while she was tangled up with him. The thought made my stomach turn. Then, my phone buzzed. Emily, what is this? Seriously? That was her first reaction. No guilt, no panic, just playing dumb. I didn't reply. I wanted to see how far she'd take the lie. A minute later, another text. Emily, why are you tracking me? That's crazy. Crazy. She was flipping it on me. Classic. Then my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. A second later, another text popped up. Emily, babe, call me. I can explain. Explain what, exactly? That she just happened to be at a hotel instead of work. That she was having a business meeting in a damn king-sized bed. I decided to respond, keeping it short. Me, go ahead. Explain. She called again. This time, I picked up. Her voice was calm, too calm. Why are you spying on me? That was the first thing she said. Not, I'm sorry. Not, this isn't what it looks like. Just immediate defense mode. Because you're at a hotel, Emily, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Not work. So tell me, why are you there? A long pause. Then, the audacity. I needed some space, she said. Work has been stressful, and I just needed time alone to clear my head. I laughed, actually laughed. You expect me to believe that? I don't care what you believe, she snapped. I'm allowed to have time to myself without being accused of something I didn't do. I felt my grip tighten around the phone. You're seriously gonna stand there and lie to my face? I'm not lying, she shot back, her voice full of fake outrage. You're the one being controlling and paranoid. Tracking my car? Who does that? Oh, so now I was the bad guy? Unbelievable. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Okay. Then prove it. Send me a picture of the room. Show me you're alone. Silence. Emily. More silence. And that's when I knew she wasn't alone. The silence dragged on so long that I almost thought she hung up. Then, she finally spoke, her voice quieter now. Are you serious right now? She said, trying to sound offended. I shouldn't have to prove anything to you. I clenched my jaw. You should if you actually want me to believe you. Another pause. Then, a sigh. Fine, she muttered. A minute later, my phone dinged with a photo. I opened it, my heart hammering. It was a blurry shot of a hotel room, just the bed and a nightstand. No mirror. No wide angle. Just enough to make it look like she might be alone. But she made a mistake. Sitting on the nightstand was a second phone. A black phone. Emily's phone case was pink. I felt my blood turn to ice. Whose phone is that? I asked, my voice deadly calm. What? She tried to play dumb. What are you talking about? I zoomed in, took a screenshot, and sent it back to her. This phone. The one sitting next to the bed. That's not yours. Silence. Then, she panicked. Oh my God, are you seriously analyzing my photos now? You've lost your mind. Whose phone is it, Emily? I repeated, my patience hanging by a thread. More silence. Then, she actually tried to laugh. You're so paranoid. It's mine, obviously. Yours is pink. Another pause. Then, the stuttering. Well, yeah, but I took my work phone too. You just, I can't believe I have to defend myself over nothing. I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I exhaled slowly. Come home. What? You heard me. Come home. Right now. She scoffed. I'm not gonna drop everything just because you're being crazy. I'll be home when I'm ready. No, you'll be home now, I said, my voice firm. Or don't bother coming back at all. Another long pause. Then, she let out this frustrated sigh, like I was the one ruining her night. Fine. I'll be home soon. I hung up. And then I braced myself, because I knew, without a doubt, that everything was about to explode. I sat on the couch, staring at the door, my hands clenched into fists. My mind was running a mile a minute. She had lied, again. And the worst part? She wasn't even good at it. She really thought I was dumb enough to believe her half-assed excuses. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. Then 45. I checked the tracker. She was still at the hotel. I almost laughed. Of course she was. She wasn't rushing home because she wasn't alone. She was scrambling, trying to figure out how to cover her ass. Finally, just past midnight, I heard her car pull into the driveway. The door opened, and in she walked, like nothing was wrong. She set her purse down and stretched, giving me a tired smile. Hey. That was it. Hey. I just stared at her. Took you long enough. She sighed dramatically. Yeah, well, thanks for ruining my night. I blinked. Ruining your night? She crossed her arms. Yes, actually. You accused me of cheating, made me leave when I wasn't ready, and now you're sitting here acting all dramatic. It's exhausting. I let out a slow, bitter chuckle. Wow. That's impressive. You really just flipped this whole thing on me. She rolled her eyes. Because you're acting insane. I stood up. Who is he? Her expression didn't change. She was so confident, so sure that she could gaslight me out of reality. Who is who? I took a step closer. The guy you were with tonight. She scoffed. Jesus, no one. I was alone. How many times do I have to say it? I pulled out my phone and held up the screenshot of the black phone. Then whose phone is this? Her face barely flinched, just a flicker of something, gone in a second. I already told you. It's mine. I shook my head. Try again. She exhaled sharply. God, this is so stupid. You're spying on me, tracking my car, analyzing photos, you sound like a psycho. I took another step closer, lowering my voice. Emily. Stop. Lying. She stared at me, something shifting in her expression. I saw it then, just for a second. Panic. Fear. She knew I knew. But then, just as fast, she covered it up with anger. I don't have to deal with this, she snapped. I'm going to bed. She turned to walk away. And that's when I said it. I know about Jason. She froze. Her whole body went stiff. Slowly, she turned back, her eyes wide, lips slightly parted. She knew she was caught. Emily just stood there, frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not guilt. Fear. I let the silence stretch between us, watching her brain scramble for a way out. Finally, she swallowed and forced a laugh, a nervous, shaky laugh. Jason? My co-worker? What the hell are you talking about? I tilted my head, studying her. You tell me. Since you've apparently been spending a lot of time with him. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She was slipping, losing control of the narrative. Time to push. I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm but firm. You've never mentioned him before. But he sure as hell texts you a lot. Can't stop thinking about you. Same place next weekend. I quoted, watching the color drain from her face. She tried to recover. Oh my God, you went through my phone. I sure did. I folded my arms. And I found a lot. She clenched her jaw, shaking her head. You're insane. No, Emily, I said, my voice sharp now. What's insane is you sneaking off to hotels and expecting me to be too stupid to notice. She scoffed, rolling her eyes, but I could see the cracks forming. She was cornered. Then, just like that, her whole demeanor shifted. Her shoulders dropped, and suddenly, she looked exhausted. Fine, she muttered, rubbing her temples. You want the truth? Yeah. I've been seeing Jason. The words hit me like a truck, even though I already knew. Hearing her say it out loud made it real. I swallowed hard. For how long? She sighed, crossing her arms. Does it matter? I took a step closer, my voice low. Yeah. It does. She hesitated, then looked away. A few months. I clenched my fists, breathing through the rage. A few months. So every time she kissed me, every time she told me she loved me, it was a lie. I gritted my teeth. Why? That was the only thing I needed to understand. Why the hell would she do this? She exhaled sharply, rubbing her face. I don't know, okay? It just happened. I laughed coldly. Bullshit. You don't just accidentally fall into bed with someone. Her eyes flashed with irritation. I wasn't happy, okay, she snapped. You're always working, always distracted. Jason made me feel wanted. Oh, there it was. The classic "it's your fault I cheated" excuse. I stared at her, my jaw tight. So instead of talking to me, you decided to screw your coworker. She shrugged. Shrugged. I didn't plan it. It just got out of control. I let out a slow breath, nodding. Well, congratulations. You completely destroyed our marriage. Her face twitched, but she didn't argue. She just stood there, arms crossed, like I was the problem. Like I was the one overreacting. I stared at the woman I had once loved more than anything. The woman I thought I knew. I didn't recognize her anymore. Emily didn't look guilty. She didn't cry, didn't apologize, she just stood there, arms crossed, acting like I was the problem. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check. So that's it? That's your excuse? You weren't happy, so you decided to cheat. She rolled her eyes. It's not that simple. I let out a bitter laugh. No, Emily. It actually is that simple. You could have talked to me. You could have told me you weren't happy. Instead, you lied to my face for months. She sighed like I was annoying her. I didn't want to hurt you. That set me off. I took a step closer, my voice sharp. You didn't want to hurt me. Are you serious right now? Do you have any idea what it feels like to be lied to like this? To sit at home, trusting you, while you were out screwing another guy. She flinched, but then her expression hardened. I didn't mean for it to happen. I scoffed. You didn't mean to sleep with him. Oh, did you just trip and fall into his bed? Her face twisted with frustration. Jesus, do you want me to beg for forgiveness? Is that what you want? I shook my head, disgusted. I want the truth. And I want to know if this has happened before. She hesitated, too long. My stomach dropped. Oh my God, I muttered. It's not just Jason, is it? Her lips pressed into a thin line. That doesn't matter. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She threw her hands up. What do you want me to say? That I made mistakes. That I let things get out of control. Fine. I did. But you weren't exactly the perfect husband either. I stared at her, speechless. So now this is my fault. She folded her arms. I mean, kinda. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I had spent months wondering if I was crazy, if I was just being paranoid. I had given her every chance to come clean, and this was a reaction. Blaming me. Acting like she was the victim. I shook my head, exhaling sharply. We're done. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? You heard me, I said, my voice cold. I'm done. You can go be with Jason, or whatever other guys you've been sneaking around with. But we are over. For the first time, I saw real panic on her face. You don't mean that? I laughed. Oh, I definitely do. She stepped forward, reaching for my arm. Babe, let's calm down, okay? We can talk about this. I yanked my arm away. There's nothing to talk about, Emily. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. She opened her mouth to argue, but I wasn't listening anymore. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. Because I knew if I stayed in that house one more second, I was going to say something I couldn't take back. I walked out. I didn't even know where I was going, I just knew I couldn't stay in that house another second. I got in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, my whole body shaking with adrenaline. I had just ended my marriage. It should have felt freeing, but all I felt was rage. My phone buzzed. Emily. I ignored it. A second later, another text. Then another. Emily, we need to talk. Emily, come back inside, please. Emily, you're overreacting. Overreacting? My hands tightened around the wheel. She cheated on me, multiple times, and I'm the one overreacting. I put my car in drive and just started driving. Nowhere in particular, just away. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. I sighed, already knowing who it was. But when I looked at the screen, it wasn't Emily. It was her best friend, Lisa. I hesitated before answering. Hello. Dude, what the hell is going on? Lisa's voice was sharp, almost accusing. Emily just called me, bawling her eyes out, saying you're leaving her. I clenched my jaw. Yeah, because she's been screwing Jason. And apparently other guys, too. Silence. Then, Lisa sighed. Look. I didn't know for sure, but I suspected something was going on. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. You suspected? She was acting weird, Lisa admitted. She started cancelling plans, being secretive, always on her phone. I even asked her if she was cheating once, and she swore up and down that she wasn't. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, well, she was. For months. Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then, she muttered, I'm so sorry. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Not your fault. She said she wants to talk, Lisa said hesitantly. She's freaking out. She's saying she made a mistake and she loves you, Anne. I cut her off. She loved me when she was sneaking around behind my back. Lisa sighed again. Look, I'm not defending her. I think she's panicking because she never thought you'd actually leave. That made sense. Emily was the type who needed control. She probably thought I'd yell, cry, threaten divorce, but ultimately, stay. She never expected me to walk away. Tell her I have nothing to say, I muttered. I'm done. Lisa hesitated. Okay. But, just be careful. I don't think she's gonna let this go easily. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Lisa hesitated again. Just, don't be surprised if she tries to flip the script. I didn't know what that meant yet. But I was about to find out. I spent the next couple of hours driving around, trying to clear my head. I knew I couldn't go back home, not tonight. Emily would be there, waiting to beg me to forgive her, to pull me back into the toxic mess that we had become. I was exhausted, physically and emotionally. But I knew what I had to do. I had to stay strong. I had to stay away. My phone buzzed again. Emily. I didn't answer. But the texts kept coming. Emily, I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Emily, please just come back. We can work through this. Emily, you're all I have left. Don't do this. My stomach churned. She was pulling out all the stops now. The guilt. The desperation. The we can fix this nonsense. I knew better. But it still hurt. It hurt more than I was ready to admit, to be honest. Around midnight, I pulled into a parking lot of a quiet diner and parked. I leaned my head back against the seat, staring up at the dark sky. How had I gotten here? How had everything crumbled so quickly? I thought back to the good times, before Jason, before the lies, before the nights when I would come home and she'd be there, smiling, waiting. Was that all a lie too? My phone buzzed again. Emily, you're being so cruel. That hit me. I didn't know if it was her guilt or manipulation talking, but I knew one thing for sure, she was still trying to make me feel like I was the bad guy. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent a quick text to Lisa. Me, she's not letting up. She keeps texting, saying I'm being cruel. Lisa replied almost immediately. Lisa, she's trying to make you feel guilty. Don't fall for it. Me, I'm not. But it's still messing with my head. I sat there for another 30 minutes, going back and forth with myself. On one hand, I was done. I knew I had to stick to my decision. But on the other hand, the emotional manipulation was wearing me down. Their please forgive me and I'll change routines were all so familiar, and they always worked. Finally, I replied to Lisa. Me, I'm not going back. I can't. She's not the person I thought she was. Lisa, good. You're doing the right thing. I took a deep breath. Right thing or not, this was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed once more. This time, it was a voicemail. It was Emily. I hit play. Her voice was trembling, on the verge of tears. I can't lose you. Please, you have to come back. I made a mistake. I know I messed up, but you're the only one who's ever really got me. I love you. Please don't do this. The words stung, even though I knew they weren't real. They were just the final attempt to manipulate me into coming back. But this time, I didn't feel guilty. This time, I felt nothing. I deleted the voicemail. And I drove away. I spent the next few days staying at a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. It wasn't ideal, but it was quiet, and it gave me the space I needed to think, something I hadn't done properly in months. Emily's texts didn't stop. Every day, multiple messages filled my phone. Some were begging me to come back, others were accusations. You'll regret this. You're being unreasonable. This is all your fault, you know. I didn't respond. Eventually, she started calling me. Over and over again. At first, I ignored the calls, but then I gave in and picked up once. Hello. I said, my voice flat. There was a brief pause before Emily's voice came through, frantic. Please, just listen to me. I didn't say anything at first. Look, I know I messed up, she continued, her voice wavering. But I love you. I really do. You're the only one who gets me, who truly understands me. Jason, he's just a rebound. He was never going to be anything more than that. Please, I'm begging you. Don't throw everything away because of one mistake. I closed my eyes, trying to suppress the frustration building up in me. One mistake. Emily, this wasn't just one mistake. This was months of lies. Months of cheating behind my back. She was quiet for a second. I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear. I felt alone. You were always busy, and I just needed someone. I let out a harsh laugh. So, you needed someone. That's your excuse. I'm not making excuses, she snapped. I'm telling you the truth. I shook my head. No. The truth is you made a choice. And that choice wasn't me. There was silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing heavily, the guilt suffocating her. I know I messed up, she said softly. I know I hurt you. But I love you. And I can change. We can fix this. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. No, Emily. I don't think we can fix this. Not after everything. She started crying then. Real, guttural sobs. Please, don't leave me. I'll do anything. I swear. I'll go to therapy, I'll quit my job if it means not seeing Jason again. I'll do anything, just don't leave me. The desperation in her voice was overwhelming. It took everything in me to keep my cool. I can't do this anymore, Emily, I said, my voice cracking slightly despite my best efforts. I can't keep living a lie. I deserve better than this. She fell silent for a long time, and when she finally spoke again, it was barely a whisper. Please don't leave me like this. I hung up. And as I stared at the screen, my heart pounding in my chest, I realized I had made the hardest decision of my life. It wasn't about who she was with or who she wanted to be with. It wasn't about the affair or the lies anymore. It was about me. About reclaiming my own life. I blocked her number. The next few days felt like a blur. I was numb, going through the motions but not really living. I stayed in the motel room, not reaching out to anyone except Lisa. She kept checking in on me, making sure I was holding up. I knew she felt guilty for not telling me earlier about her suspicions about Emily. But honestly, at this point, I wasn't mad at her. She was just trying to help in the best way she knew how. But as the days passed, Emily's attempts to reach me only escalated. Texts turned into phone calls into voicemails. Each message more desperate than the last. Some of them were apologetic, some of them were angry, accusing me of being heartless. Then came the package. I came back to my motel room one afternoon to find a small box waiting for me on the doorstep. The return address said it was from Emily's work. I opened it, half expecting some kind of apology letter, maybe a heartfelt note about how she really wanted to make things right. But no. It was a framed picture of us, our wedding day. Her smiling, her hand in mine, both of us laughing. I stared at the photo for a while, feeling sick to my stomach. It was a memory of a time when everything felt real, when I thought she was my person. And now? Now it was just a reminder of everything I had lost. I threw the picture into the trash. It felt like the final blow. I spent the next few weeks sorting through the wreckage of my life. I wasn't rushing to move on, but I wasn't sitting around either. I found a new apartment, started looking for new routines, and tried to piece myself back together. It wasn't easy, but it felt like the only option I had left. Every once in a while, I'd get a text from Emily, each one more frantic than the last. "Can we talk? I need to see you. I'm so sorry, I'll change, I swear." But each time, I ignored it. And as much as it hurt, as much as I hated feeling like a failure for the way things ended, I knew I couldn't go back. Then one night, about a month after I left, I got a call from Lisa. She had news. "Hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up," she said, her voice low. "Emily's been, well, let's just say she's not handling things well. I've been getting messages from her, and it's clear she's been talking to other people, telling them you were the one who ruined the relationship. Blaming you for everything." I clenched my jaw, biting back the urge to snap. I don't care what she says. I'm done with her. Lisa paused. I get it. I really do. But just, be careful. She's clearly in a dark place right now, and I'm worried about how far she might go. I sighed. I'm not worried about her. I've got my own life to rebuild. Still, a little voice in the back of my mind kept telling me to stay alert. Because as much as Emily had tried to play the victim, it was clear she wasn't done. She wasn't done with me, or with controlling the narrative of our story. And when it came to her, I knew the worst was probably yet to come. The weeks that followed were the hardest. Even though I was finally starting to get some distance from Emily, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still lurking in the background, waiting for the right moment to strike. And then, one day, it happened. I was at work, sitting at my desk, trying to focus on an email when I got a notification. It was an email from Emily. I hesitated before opening it, not sure what kind of crazy excuse or desperate plea she would have this time. But curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked it open. Subject: we need to talk. It's important. The email was long, filled with the same stuff I'd heard over and over again, the "I messed up" speech, the "I love you" line, the "I'll change for you please." But then it took a turn. Emily's email. "I know you're hurt, and I get why you're angry. I've messed up more than I can even explain, but you have to understand something. I didn't want this to happen. I was under so much pressure, and I just needed someone to help me feel wanted again. But that doesn't change how much I love you. I've been seeing a therapist, and I'm doing everything I can to fix myself, for me, and for us. But here's the thing. I'm pregnant." I stared at the screen. "Pregnant? I didn't know how to tell you this, but now that we're apart, I don't want to keep this from you. I'm scared, and I know you're going to be angry with me. But I need you to know the truth. This baby, it's yours. I don't know what to do. Please don't leave me alone in this." I read it again, and again, until the words didn't make sense anymore. Pregnant. This was it, wasn't it? The final card she could play. The ultimate manipulation. I had never once imagined she'd pull something like this, but I should have known better. Emily knew how to twist the truth into something that suited her. And right now, she was using a potential child to try and drag me back into her web of lies and guilt. But there was one thing she didn't account for. I didn't believe her. I didn't believe a word of it. I had heard her lies too many times to fall for this one. I picked up the phone and dialed Lisa's number, barely able to keep my composure. "Lisa," I said, my voice shaky. "She's doing it. She's saying she's pregnant. And it's mine." Lisa didn't skip a beat. "Do you think it's true?" I paused, staring at the email again. "I don't know. But I don't think it's true." Lisa was quiet for a moment before she spoke again. "You're right not to believe her. Emily's always been manipulative, and this is just another way for her to try and control the situation." I ran my hand through my hair, trying to calm myself down. What if it is true, though? What if I am the father? I don't know what to do. Lisa sighed. "You don't have to make any decisions right now. This is just a tactic to make you feel responsible. The truth will come out, and if it's really your kid, you'll handle it, but you can't let her keep playing these games with you. You've already made the hardest decision by walking away. Don't let her drag you back in." She was right. I had to stay strong. I sent a quick reply to Emily's email. Subject: we need to talk. It's important. Me, I'm done, Emily. I'm not playing this game with you anymore. If you're pregnant, we'll deal with it, but you will not use this to control me. This is your mess, not mine. I hit send. And then, for the first time in a long time, I felt a small weight lift off my shoulders. I wasn't going back. The next few days passed by in a haze. Emily didn't respond to my email, but I could feel her presence in the back of my mind, always hovering, always waiting for the next opportunity to pull me back into her chaos. I kept my distance. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't read her messages. And when she showed up at my apartment one night, knocking on my door like some desperate ghost, I didn't even open it. I just sat there, staring at the door, my heart pounding, but also calm. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally free. I didn't know if Emily was really pregnant or not, and honestly, I didn't care. I wasn't going to be dragged into her drama again. If she was truly carrying my child, then I would handle that responsibility, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into coming back to a toxic relationship that had nearly broken me. I reached out to a lawyer. I didn't want to drag things out with Emily, but I needed to make sure I was covered. I had no idea what she might try next, and I wanted to be prepared. A few days later, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from Emily. Subject: this is really happening. I opened the envelope, and there was a letter inside, along with a pregnancy test result. The letter was long, full of more apologies and emotional pleas. She begged me to come back, to be with her, to help her raise the child, if it even was mine. She talked about how sorry she was, how she was going to change. But the last line hit me like a punch in the gut. "I never wanted to hurt you. I only wanted you to stay. And now I'm alone with a baby I'm not sure I'm ready for. Please come back to me. Please help me." I stared at the letter for a while, feeling a mixture of anger and sorrow. She was still trying to manipulate me, even after everything. Even after I had made it clear I was done. I shredded the letter. And just like that, I realized how far I had come. The man who once felt like he couldn't breathe without Emily was now strong enough to walk away. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't entirely over the pain of the betrayal. But I had taken back control of my life. I wasn't going to let her decide my future anymore. The next few months were about rebuilding. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when I doubted myself, wondering if I had made the right choice, questioning whether Emily was the one I was meant to be with. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't just walking away from her. I was walking toward a better version of myself. I focused on my work, started working out again, hung out with friends who supported me, and reconnected with my own passions. Slowly but surely, I started feeling like me again, something I hadn't felt in years. One night, about 6 months later, I was sitting at a bar with a couple of friends when I got a message from Lisa. Lisa, just heard from Emily. She's doing okay, finally accepted the pregnancy wasn't yours. She's moving on. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel satisfaction. I just felt numb. That chapter of my life was over. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Reflection advice. Looking back on everything that happened, I can honestly say it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was also the best thing. The way Emily used me, manipulated me, lied to me, it wasn't love. It was control. If you're in a relationship like that, my advice is simple: trust yourself. You deserve to be with someone who truly respects and loves you, not someone who sees you as a tool for their own selfish needs. Don't be afraid to walk away. You'll face a lot of resistance from the person you're leaving behind, and they'll try to make you feel guilty. But you can do this. You are stronger than you think. It won't be easy, but eventually, you'll find peace. And when you do, you'll realize that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that set you free. Take it from me, there's life after betrayal. And it's worth it.